Thanks for the opportunity to present this important topic along with my colleague Jay. We are pretty sure that you would find it useful to strengthen your workspace security posture. As you know, Citrix Analytics for Security connects the breadth of Citrix portfolio and additional third-party intelligence for a consistent, simplified experience to unify visibility, enable automation, and strengthen your Citrix workspace security posture. Unlike the general purpose analytics tools, here you can visualize the user risks in near real time and its impact on overall workspace security posture. Citrix Analytics for Security as a solution helps you to take a rapid response actions across multiple security products. For example, you can do log off user session, start the session recording, and disable the users in context to the risk that you're going through. In addition to that, you can automatically create the investigation tickets in ServiceNow like ITSM solutions. In this session, you will learn how to extend your existing incident management business rules to manage Citrix workspace user security posture to make investigations faster, simpler, and more effective. To set the expectation, this session is primarily to exhibit a conceptual view, and there is no binding on the timeline of these capabilities availability, and it might go through multiple changes before we release it. Considering the dynamics of different audience for this session, we thought this structure would be useful. Sorry if some of the content is repetitive for some of you. I mean, brief summary of how Citrix Workspace user security posture can be enhanced with the power of Citrix Analytics for Security, followed by a live demo where we would like to showcase how easy it is for you to extend your existing incident management business process to manage Citrix Workspace user risks as well. Here is the overall conceptual view of the proposed integration. In a short summary, Citrix Analytics for Security provides a mechanism to automatically trigger the incident tickets in ITSM-like systems, and you can effectively extend your existing incident detection business process for the Citrix Workspace Security as well. To highlight the important aspect of this solution, we are proposing a bidirectional integration with ITSM tools like a ServiceNow, where we can leverage the feedback coming from incident analysts triaging outcomes to alleviate the overall alert fatigue that the industry is talking about. Let's briefly talk about the value prop of Citrix Analytics. Any good organization, in order to be successful, they need to start measuring and providing insights. And to provide insights, you need data. Once you are able to measure something, you can drive a lot of meaningful answers as to whether it is on the security side or on the performance side or the business metrics or things and so on. Once you can measure it, you can monitor it. Once you can monitor it, you can start managing it as we move forward. Am I right? So the core fundamental of measuring begins with not just showing tons of dashboards and metrics and data to our customers, but actually the value sits in providing them some kind of a predictable insights which are acted upon. In order to do that, we are in the process of building a lot of purpose-built machine learning algorithms so that you as a customer or you as a partner don't have the onus of looking into many different consoles and tons of data to really realize as to where and what the problem lies. In terms of the second pillar, we are using in terms of the second pillar from our strategy perspective, it is not just limited to one given product. For example, as it relates to security analytics, we are getting events from quite a lot of products across Citrix portfolio. so that we can provide you a comprehensive view of what's the normal baseline of your users. At the same time, we can help you to detect the early indications of anomalous behavior, right? That's the core. So the third aspect to our overall value prop, it's around the service, right? While the service resides on the cloud, and one of the biggest reason it resides on the cloud is because we are using a completely modern engineering stack, which allows us to provide these predictive analytics, which would help you to take immediate business actions. Here are the key value propositions that Citrix Analytics delivers for the Workspace customers. One, enhance the security posture of Citrix Workspace by continuously assuring the user's identity, access, and activity on the lines of zero trust security approach. Second one, improve the user's overall experience with prescriptive insights and recommendations. Last but not the least, improve the overall productivity of users to enable them to deliver the organizational outcomes. Let's double click on the Citrix Analytics for security. That's the core for this session. Being an analytics-based solution, it might be quite useful for you to understand the a brief summary of the data pipeline that we leverage behind the scenes. All the Citrix products are instrumented to send the events to Citrix Analytics. We have a unique opportunity to get a visibility into users and various entities, access and activity across the Citrix ecosystem. Post the relevant data enrichment across multiple vectors listed here, we analyze the anomalous behavior with respect to typical users or the entity's baseline behavior. And then we go through the intelligence where it detects the anomalous behavior. Post the anomalous behavior detection, we disseminate the detected behavioral anomalies in multiple ways. One, through the self-service platform to simplify your incident investigation. Second, we expose through the SIM-like interfaces where you can easily augment with your existing intelligence on the ecosystem. Today, we are going to see how we can extend your existing incident management business rules to manage the user risks detected out of Citrix Analytics for security. With all the momentum with remote working, which is a good sign for the users, but it increases a lot of security concern for the IT admins. What I mean is, how do I ensure that my employees' access is pretty secure? How do I continuously assure, not only at the time of login, rather continuously ensure that their access is secure? How quickly I can contain the risk if at all any anomalous behavior is observed? How do I detect the early indication of potential data leakage, if any, and interrupt the forward motion of the malicious insiders? I'm pretty sure these are the common questions every admin in the world wants to address these days. Yes, Citrix Analytics for security is a comprehensive solution where we continuously assess the user behavior for any sort of early indications of user risks and mitigate the risks pretty quickly, because security is all about containing the risk from further abuses, right? Here are the key use cases which we grouped it across 3 categories in line with the way industry analysts group these behavioral anomalous use cases. When we talk about the first one, compromised user, identity being the new virtual perimeter across the digital space, it is always the first target when it comes to any kind of cyber exploit. Like I said before, our uniqueness is all about detecting the early indications of potential identity compromise. We believe location, device, and authentication patterns are some of the key vectors that we are concerned about when it comes to detecting the early indications of account compromise. With our purpose-built machine learning model, we could detect the early indications of user account compromise across these scenarios. For example, user Pons accessing a new device to connect with the Citrix virtual app and desktops where we haven't seen before, but is also accessing from the location where we haven't seen any historical access before, right? If I may summarize, we are talking about a scenario where the user accessing from a new device, but also from an unusual location where we haven't seen the user before. The same way, if the company has the concept of a geofence, because some of the regulatory mandates forcing you to have such kind of a regulatory, the definition of geofence, in that case, we have the capabilities to detect the geofence crossings in line with your governance requirements. When we talk about the second one, insider threat, like the way Workforce evolved from the traditional bricks and mortar realm to the bits and bytes arena, insider threat is no more limited to actions in a physical context. Instead, it has spread across the globe, both in terms of a virtual and non-virtual spaces. What I mean is, while we are excited about more and more transparent visibility into the information, the user behavior continues to be more and more opaque. One thing to keep in mind, unlike the account compromise scenario that we talked a few minutes before, which typically perpetrated by the external cyber hacker, which involves a longer kill chain. But on the other hand, the insider threat is pretty aggressive with the idea to act and continue. But one thing is pretty common here, both of them always leave behind a trail of behavior and the data traces as they do so. Of course, in a varying difficulties, depends on their expertise. Little longer time before exploiting the digital infrastructure due to the need to recon for a potential least path of resistance. With our purpose-built models, we could detect the initial usage of apps and data. Considering the dynamic nature of insider threats, we provide a flexible framework for administrators to build their own set of detection rules when it comes to all of these categories, what we are talking about. Irrespective of whether someone exploits the digital infrastructure, either through compromising the identity or leveraging the insiders, at the end goal, it's all about either exfiltrate the data, which could be a confidential for the companies or sensitive to the company's business nature, or could be create a one or the other kind of a service interruption, right? So in that case, we have mechanisms and the ability to detect early indications of data exfiltration across all the common vectors that someone exploit always, be it a CDM or USB channel, or the printing or clipboard. These are the common vectors that one might want to do when they exfiltrate the data from virtual app and desktop. So we do have a visibility, and we should be able to help you to detect the early indications of those things. Considering the unique nature of security posture requirements for the customers, we have provided a flexible framework where admin can simply create their own set of detection rules without the need to have data science expertise. Our value proposition is not only in the visibility of user risk, rather we augment that visibility by automatically interrupt the forward motion of perpetrators, be it an insider or the compromiser from external sources. Here are the mitigation actions you can leverage to interrupt the forward motion of risky users to make sure that you should be able to contain the risk pretty quickly, right? So that's our unique value. Before we get into the demo, we want to quickly apprise you about the typical workflow that admin will walk through when it comes to a Citrix analytics for security's value proposition. Post the detection of early indications that we talked before, we quantify the user risk so that you can understand the implication of it and then plan for a respective mitigation action. Because security is all about focus on the critical risk that needs your attention, right? That's the reason we don't tell you as a binary decision saying whether he or she is a risky user or not. Rather, we give you the quantified way of assessing the potential implications that a particular user is creating for you, so that you should be able to plan for the relevant mitigation action. That's the uniqueness here. It's all about quantifying the user risks, right? And post that, like any other security control, we provided a flexible policy framework to enable you to have a custom mitigation action in line with your security posture requirements and also the risk appetite that your company is going through. So here's the brief summary we talked so far. I'm pretty sure that would help you to understand. So now let's move on to the second part of this session, where we will see in action how simply we can extend your existing well-proven incident management business rules or processes, or in other way, the incident detection runbook, to manage Citrix Workspace security posture as well. Over to you, Jay. Take it from here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jay Muthukumaraswamy. I'm one of the architects for Citrix Analytics for Security. Today, I'm going to show you a concept of how Citrix Analytics can be integrated with ITSM solutions like ServiceNow. This is a concept and it's not there in production yet. So as Pons mentioned earlier, Citrix Analytics receives data from a variety of sources in the Citrix ecosystem. With this data, we calculate risk scores for different users of a company. And what you're seeing here is a dashboard that shows the risk posture for all the employees of a company, or at least it shows the top level users who are risky. In this case, you're seeing a variety of users with high risk scores, and you're seeing risk categories and so on. So as a Citrix Analytics administrator, I can drill down further to see why the risk is high. So I can click on Georgina Kaluf, for example, and I'm seeing a timeline of all the activities that she's performed, and this has contributed to her high risk score. And the latest one seems to be a first-time access from a new location. When I drill down here, I see that this user has been logging in from Dublin, Ireland, and this seems to be the first time that she is accessing from that location. And hence we've created this risk indicator, and it has contributed to a high risk score. So at this point, I can take a variety of actions. One of them is to create an incident in ServiceNow. So I can go ahead and create a ServiceNow incident and apply. So what's going to happen now is it's going to create an incident in ServiceNow that an IT analyst can look at it, can escalate it or triage it and resolve it ultimately. So let me switch over to the ServiceNow incidents UI and show you what's going on there. So as you can see here, there are a variety of incidents here. And the first one you see is the one for Georgina Kaluf. It is from Citrix Analytics Administrator. The priority is critical, and it is of category security risk. Let me drill down further to get more information. So here I can see a similar information that I saw in the Citrix Analytics UI. So as an IT admin, I can actually look at this and I can either escalate this or I can resolve it at this point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to resolve it. And so when you resolve it, it needs to have the resolution code. So here I'm going to pick false positive, and I'm going to say valid employee travel, and then I'm going to update it. So now that I've triaged and resolved the ticket, you can actually post this information back to Citrix Analytics so that we can use this information to recalibrate our risk scoring for this particular user. So let me switch over back to the Citrix Analytics UI. And in the UI, I can see that a new action response has been posted. It says ServiceNow incident created, resolved. And on the right-hand side, I can see all the details about the reasoning for resolution. And now that we've got this information, we can recalibrate the risk scoring for this user. And you can see that the risk score has gone down from 99 to 85. So this is an example where I manually looked at this user and I drilled down to find the details and then finally created the action. So this can also be done automatically. So basically, you can create a policy that says the condition is first-time access from a new location, create a ServiceNow ticket or incident, and create this policy. With this policy in place, anytime a user accesses the resources from a new location, this policy is going to get triggered, which is going to create the ServiceNow incident, which can be automatically triaged and escalated on the ServiceNow side. Excuse me. So the only requirement that we need from the user or the customer is the email to the ServiceNow incident. Once we have that, we make use of the inbound email actions capability and send an email to that instance email. And we create an inbound email action in ServiceNow. I'll show you how to do that. So here I've created an inbound email action called create CAS incident. In this, basically what I've said is like create a record in the incident table when an email from Citrix Analytics Administrator comes in. And the various fields for the incident will be got from the email body and the description and so on. So using this information, I can create an incident in ServiceNow. Also, to post back the response back to Citrix Analytics, business rules can be created here. And I've created one called Citrix Analytics Action Response BR. This one is actually going to run when an incident is updated to resolved, closed, or canceled, and which has a category of security risk. When this type of an incident is resolved or closed or canceled, it's going to make an API call back to Citrix Analytics and post the data. Here, of course, I have a dummy endpoint, but eventually you may have a Citrix Analytics endpoint that you can post the data back to. So thereby, we can actually tie the whole thing together. So this concludes the conceptual idea of how you can integrate Citrix Analytics with ITSM solutions like ServiceNow. Thank you for watching.